watching Numbskull News, and today we're going to talk about the future CFP. What is it going to look like? We don't know. A lot of people have ideas. There's been some things leaked out. What Greg Flugar's talked about a possible 16-team deal. You got Josh Pate talking about conference title tournaments and all this kind of crap. So we're going to get into it. We're going to look at, I guess some of the more popular models of things and see what's an actual reality. With only weeks to go to come up with something to offer ESPN so that way they don't pull out. So let's see what these things look like. This is Greg Sankey's idea, one he's been pretty adamant about for a while, which is just to have 12 at-large, 12-team playoff, and go. Everyone earns whatever spot they get. This is never going to work, mainly because these groups right here, this group of 5 plus the Pac-2, they're not going to be excited about just a 12 at-large. And I don't think the Big 12 and the ACC are cool with it either. I could see, in a perfect world, I agree with Greg Sankey. Unfortunately, the SEC and the Big Ten both have so many advantages over everybody that it's just not feasible. I'm sorry, it's just not. So let's scratch that and go to the next one. Now, this is the next one that I've heard of. This is where it's a 14-team playoff, which I like the idea of 14 teams. I think that's good, only having 2 bye weeks. This is where the SEC and the Big Ten get 3 automatic qualifiers. The Big 12 and the ACC get 2 automatic bids. The group of 5 get 1, and then you have 3 at large. Here's my problem. Okay, the PAC, or sorry, not the PAC, but the ACC. What happened to the PAC is going to happen to them. Everybody knows it. Maybe not the ACC fans, or I should say some loud ACC fans don't believe that. But we all know, all right, if you're an SEC fan, if you're a Big 10 fan, if you're a Big 12 fan, you know damn well what happened to the PAC is going to happen to them. And when they lose their big schools, ESPN's going to pull out. Their grant of rights will then be up in 2027. They're not going to be able to get the media rights deal that they want to stay together. And what's going to happen? Big schools go to the SEC, the Big 10. The really good, valuable brands that are more mid-tier brands will go to the Big 12. And the rest of them will have to suffer like Oregon State and Washington State. We all know that's going to happen. So what happens to those 2 auto bids? They probably become at-large, where you'll have 5 at-large. Is this doable? Is this reasonable? I personally don't know. And really, I don't like the 14-team playoff either. I mean, not as much as, a 16-team playoff. But this is another model I've seen for the 14-team playoff. And which is obviously is more ridiculous. Something like this, though, could possibly work. But it would only work if the at-larges in this 14-team mock-up here, if the 3 at-larges are blocked from the SEC and the Big Ten. In other words, they each get 4 teams, 4 automatic qualifiers, but that's all they can get. They don't have any say in the at-large. It's not for them. They get their 4, which means the Big 12 and the ACC at most could get 4. There's a chance that there's another Big 12 team, another ACC team, another group of 5 team. There could be 2 Big 12s, 1 ACC and 2 group of 5, or 2 Big 12, 2 ACC. You see what I'm saying? It just basically the Big 12, the ACC, and the group of 5 will fight for the remaining 3 at-larges. The SEC and Big 10 remain where they are. And that's more appealing to me. Like I said, I'm a bigger fan of keep what you kill. I don't like having everything already locked up because even on this, I mean, let's say the Big Ten, they get their 4 teams in, but let's say the fourth team sucks. You know, what happens if their fourth team is some 8-4 piece of crap, and then there's a 10-2 ACC team or a 9-3 ACC team that more deservingly deserves to be in there, and they can't get in because you have to have this lousy ass Big Ten team in there. That's one of my problems with, having so many automatic qualifiers for one conference. But let's try to see how things may work out in a 16-team playoff. Here's a 16-team playoff with multiple automatic qualifiers for the SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, and the ACC. Of course, the Big 2 get 4 each. The Big 12 and the ACC get 2 each. And then there's 3 at-larges left. Group of 5, of course, they stay at 1. This isn't bad. What I don't like about it is that the SEC and the Big Ten still, have an opportunity to get at-large schools in there. I don't like that. To me, it's if you do a model like this, the same rules would have to apply before. The SEC and the Big Ten cannot get any more than 4 teams. 3 at-large go to everybody else. Obviously, what they would not like about that is that there's years that the Big 12 and the ACC will make the same amount out of the college football playoff because it wouldn't be that hard for one of those 2 conferences to get to 4 teams in the 16-team playoff. And of course, the SEC and the Big Ten, they want the majority of the money. They want the majority of the money out of the CFP every single year. So even though there's ways I like that, but let's be realistic, that this model right here would never happen. So this is what I love. It's essentially the 7-5 model, but expanded to 16 teams. So everybody gets their one conference champion. And then, the group of 5 is the highest rated, Pac-2 in there as well. And then 11 at large that any conference can go after. This is the fairest way to do it. Now, will the SEC and the Big Ten end up getting the most teams? Yes, of course they'll get the most teams. But there's going to be those years where they're going to be down and they won't get as many. Essentially, they'll have, with all their advantages they have with money, NIL, you name it, they theoretically will get more teams than the Big 12 or ACC or anybody else. What I like about this is this forces the SEC and the Big Ten that, they're going to make more money, but they got to earn it. As long as they earn it, I don't care if they make more money than the Big 12. And I'm a Big 12 fan, and I have no problem saying that. Because the Big 12 as well has the same opportunity to make more money. They don't have to have just one team in. They can get some of these at-larges, but it's up to them to do it. So there's an opportunity to earn more for the Big 12 or the ACC or the Group of 5. Well, let's be honest, the Group of 5 is going to be tough. But everyone has the opportunity to earn at-large bids. And yes, the SEC and the Big Ten have all the advantages. They'll get most years more teams in than anybody else, and they'll make more money. But this way, doing it this way, I'm cool with it. And by the way, no bye weeks. Let's just play ball, damn it. Let's just go. I don't like the idea of a bye week. Because right now, you're going to start getting 2 bye weeks. Every team gets 2 bye weeks every year. That's enough. Now let's go play. Postseason play right after the damn conference title games. And let's go. No more delays. I like this. This is a great idea, if you ask me. And of course, the new thing that's been floated out there by Josh Pate in his channel is the idea that the Big Ten or the SEC are going to go into pods or divisions or whatever. which I doubt that's going to happen. I doubt you'll be able to put a conference tournament in every conference in just a couple of weeks and get all that. It's overly complicated right now. Maybe one day down the future they look at it more, more seriously. I guess I just don't buy that very much. What I do buy into is a possible 4-team a conference tournament without all the divisions and without all the pods. It's a possibility, you know. Basically, you have a smaller CFP, but the teams that make it up win the conferences through a conference, like a 4-team conference tournament. So the SEC would have 4 teams vying for the championship. Same thing with the Big 12 and the SEC and the ACC. But what about the group of 5? How do you get them in there? What is a conference tournament? Because that's, 5 conferences plus the Pac-2. How does that work? It really doesn't. Then you got 5 teams in a CFP tournament, which that doesn't work. So basically, what you're telling me is you're shutting out the group of 5, which I don't think is really going to. I don't think it's going to happen, and you're not going to be able to get that done in a month. Okay, you got to get something on paper, and group of 5 access is going to have to be group of 5 access, regardless of what the Big 10 or the SEC or the Big 12 or the ACC think. Because there's just not enough time to be slashing people up and blocking people from the CFP right now. There's not enough time. And besides all of that, I mean, just if you were able to do that, right? And it's just a Power 4. Everyone has a conference tournament. And then those 4 champions go to the CFP and have a 4-team playoff. Hold on. Again, that's not what ESPN's wanting to pay for. That's not what any of the media companies want to pay for. They want 12, they want 14, they want 16 teams. All right, they want exposure. They want more than just the same number of teams every year. In other words, an SEC tournament, right? Or a Big 10 or a Big 12. You're getting the same matchups that you always get. LSU versus Alabama, Oklahoma State versus Kansas State, or, Ohio State versus Michigan. I know that's a huge matchup, but fucking A, it happens all the time. It happens every year. So now you possibly get it in the postseason, little conference postseason play as well. It's boring, y'all. What they want diversity in matchups. That's what a CFP should look like. It should be Tennessee versus USC. It should be Alabama versus Penn State, or Kansas going after FSU, right? Or Clemson versus Oregon. You name it. But you want the diversity within matchups, especially in the first round. Are you going to get all these crazy matchups? And look, there's some rematches that are going to obviously naturally happen once in a while. But you'll also get a ton of these matchups that you would never think you would get, or very, very rarely ever get in a postseason or a bowl game. So that's the attraction right there. If you have the conference tournaments, you're just getting the same old slock until you get to the 4-team. And even in the 4-team, you're really limiting yourself on what you would normally get. Because I guarantee you, whether it's a 12, 14, or 16-team playoff, your final 4, a lot of times it's going to be a lot of the same teams. Because of, the haves and the have-nots, as how it's structured. It'll change up somewhat. We've seen the 4-team playoff change up quite a bit, but we've seen Ohio State in there a ton. We've seen Michigan in there a ton. Alabama in there a ton. We've seen Clemson get in there a ton. We've seen Georgia in there a ton. Once in a while you may get a Washington or an Oregon. Once in a while, Oklahoma. Very rarely. Once in a while you get a Cincinnati. Once in a while you get a TCU. But it's not all the time. But if you talk about a first round, even a second round, in a CFP, whether it's 12, 14, or 16, you're going to get a giant array of different types of matchups and different teams every single year. That's excitement Look what the NCAA tournament brings you the first weekend. I mean, it's insane. The excitement is insane. That's what you're trying to recreate a little bit in college football. To me, that 16 team is perfect. And that's exactly why I don't like the smaller CFP with conference tournaments. It's boring. It's just boring. I don't like it at all. I want to see new and exciting matchups. That's what I want to see. I think that's what the college universe wants to see. I think that's what ESPN and Fox and anybody else wants to see. And hopefully that's what we get. Anyway, thanks for watching this crap, and I'll be back with some other crap later. Bye.